Let's now welcome on the line Professor Saths Cooper, who's the chairperson of the Robben Island Museum. Professor Cooper, it's always great to have you with us on the show. Welcome. So briefly take us through what was the purpose behind today's event at Robben Island?
In February 1995, our founding president, Nelson Mandela, called a reunion of ex-political prisoners to celebrate his release and the release of the last political prisoners on Robben Island. And since then, there has been a request for a reunion of political prisoners. At that time, there were at least 1,700 prisoners who attended. Sadly, today there are less than 700 ex-political prisoners alive throughout the country. And it's been a clamor of political prisoners to touch base with the place that was formative in many ways for their existence and for the sacrifices that they have made.
Mm-hmm. And Professor, the fact that the historic Robben Island prison still remains as a symbol of how far we've come as a nation in our past injustices, as we celebrate and wrap up Heritage Month and reflect on those who fought for our liberation and equality, how important is it that we preserve such remnants of our history, whether good or bad, so as to remind the future generations of how far we have come amid those growing calls to remove colonial statues as well as symbols?
Well, let's start with the first prisoner vanished there. It was Autshumato, the person that history calls Harry the Strandloper, the leader of the Khoi during Dutch settlements there. Then his niece, Krotoa, was imprisoned there, vanished again, and she died 351 years on the 29th of July this year on Robben Island. Since then, leaders against colonization throughout the country, from the southern tip of the continent through to what we have now as KwaZulu-Natal, were banished. Makoma, Langalibalele, Makanda, Fadana. These were resistors of colonization. And then we had the more recent period, the crime against humanity that was apartheid, and which still, unfortunately, Alicia, lingers in our minds because we stuck with the narratives and with the sense of lack of justice in our country. And Robben Island speaks to all those issues. And the steps taken today, unveiling those statues of Autshumato Krotoa, Andimba, Sobukwe, and the class of 76, Khotso Seatlholo, covers each of the periods from the Sharpeville massacre period, a peaceful anti-past campaign where 105 people were shot, mainly in the back, and to the 76, to the Rivonia period, the Mkhonto Sizwe period, and subsequently the 76 uprisings, and it continued until 1991. So we have a lot to learn from the indomitable commitment of young people, especially to the freedom of this country. And we must recall that in Robben Island, there were 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, so the horrors of that kind of situation, we need to recall when we live in the freedoms that we do live in. And despite the conditions that seem to be degraded around us, where everyone is feeling hopeless, the spirit of Robben Island, the eternal flame, continues to attract people from home and abroad to that memory. And we need to review how we present the stories. And I'm pleased to say that it's from now going to be a digital platform where people can get interviews, so can see artifacts, can hear prisoners in their own words and see what they did, hear their stories of triumph, of horror, sorrow, and the demeaning times that they experience. But through it all, people have survived. And these less than 700 political prisoners, many are unrecognized, stand as a symbol for all of us to emulate when we feel that things are hopeless in our country.
Absolutely. Professor, you've just hit the nail on the head there. I was about to say some of these ex-political prisoners from Robben Island have become quite exemplary leaders in their own right, showing that rehabilitation is still an option to explore, and that no matter what you faced as a previous challenge in your life, you can always overcome. Professor, it was great engaging with you on this topic this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. As always, that was Professor Saths Cooper there, the chairperson of the Robben Island Museum, as they were hosting an ex-political prisoners reunion right at the famous prison.